There we go. Yo, what up?
You.
That's like gonna be our that's gonna be our intro from now on. You just transition into live and then you just say yo about 300 times. Ask if
Oh
this
yeah, you
mic is
gotta you
working
gotta
and
do a you gotta do a yo check, man. Like nobody mic checks anymore. It's yo 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 yo, yo. And then you find out that you're live, and it's like, okay, now we can get into it.
that makes me chuckle because like the pastors at my church, they'll do that. They'll do like a mic check and stuff, and I just picture them like going up and grabbing the mic, being like, "Yo, yo, yo, can you
Yo
guys
yo,
hear me
what's
in the
up,
back?
squad?
Yeah, yo, what up? Can we get on our mother effing knees?"
Yo, who's up here for the one twos? Who's got a
Oh,
dollar?
who's got a dollar? Those collection plates are coming around. Why don't you put in a dollar if you up in here?
Yo, if you support what I do, you'll support that basket.
Okay.
We are live, right?
Yes.
Nice.
All right. I'm good. I'm good. Well, welcome to the fifth episode of Dark Sessions. Thank you for joining us. I'm kind of surprised and not surprised at the same time. It's like, when you hit your first like one subscriber on YouTube and you're like, oh my gosh, I got one subscriber. Well, we made it to our proverbial like 1 month anniversary that you always celebrate. And if you're really weird, you celebrate your 1 week anniversary. But here we are celebrating our fifth episode, which means, and it doesn't seem like we've been doing it that long. It's like a month and a week, dude.
Dude, time flies. I was actually thinking about this before we hopped into a call tonight. Like, dude, it's been over a month. Like it feels like just yesterday.
It literally does. I don't understand it, but yet here we are. And here we are talking about how to stay consistent on YouTube. And that's just as simple as it gets. We're going to kind of keep it pretty chill. I mean, we're all our episodes are chill, but there's not a lot of notes going on with this. Just so you all are aware, we're just going to go into it. I guess the main premise, Slumber, is just the way I interpreted this topic was uploading regularly versus having like a schedule, maybe taking breaks. Should you do that? Uh, and everything else that falls in between. I know being consistent is pretty important, but is that kind of what you had in mind?
When
Because I
I
know
think
you want
about
to do it.
staying consistent, I think about just I guess where my mind goes is not giving up.
Does that mean like, you know, I took a year off, but I'm back, and then you take another year off, and you're like, hey, I didn't give up.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you're taking breaks like that, and then you're upset about not growing, it's because you're not staying consistent. See, I think staying consistent can mean a barrage of things. I mean, it can mean that you upload daily, every 2 days, every week, or maybe even just 2 times throughout the week, no matter what day it is. As long as you're making a presence, I would say that that's staying consistent. But
But like a regular one, like a regular consistency, right? Not like this huge gap in between. Like
yeah,
looking
yeah,
on like
basically.
maybe like a 1 week to 2 week kind of interval, would you say?
Yeah, yeah. Like as long as you're making a stay, it's probably the best way to put it.
I also think it might have to depend on like the kind of content you upload, because like, do you know Vsauce?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so he's pretty popular, but he uploads. Well, he used to upload like once every 3 weeks or something like that, once a month, and that was good for him. He had like a crazy amount of subscribers and engagement and stuff, but I think his stuff was also really interesting. So he could almost get away with putting in all this work to upload once a month, and then everyone just kind of flocked to his videos.
See that's an interesting conversation because it kind of moves into saturation, right? If you're doing something that is not done very often, you can get away with not posting as much because like you're one of the main sources for that content, right?
Mm.
But if we want to hop into horror narration, there's a lot of people doing this. So you really have to make a presence to uh grow,
Yeah, to like
if
stick
that
out.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So it becomes then like quantity, then kind of quantity and luck, would you say? Or quantity and knowing
I
the
think
algorithm? Quality?
finding quantity and quality together is really important. But I would kind of say that's the case with anything. Just because a channel posts once a month doesn't mean that they're not consistent. It just means that they're spending a lot more time on a video. Uh, See, I've always made this argument, right? If a video takes 15 hours to make, okay, and they're posting twice a month, so
Mm-hmm.
once every 2 weeks or whatever, that's pretty awesome. Um, if I have 15 hours worth of work into my narrations, say 4 uploads is the equivalent of 15 hours, which is probably actually fairly on par. It probably takes a little bit longer than that. And I upload 4 videos within 2 weeks. I would say that's basically the same consistency because it's all about the time that you have to put into that video
Yeah,
to
and spoiler alert, I don't put that much into mine. Like a lot of time goes into the recording, but once that's done, it takes me like, I don't know, 10 minutes to put together a video. Like exporting takes just as long as it does to make a video, which is like 10 minutes.
I've got it down to a science. So I've figured out that for every 10 minutes of recorded audio, I have about 30 seconds of stuff that'll be removed, whether that be dead space or mistakes.
Yep.
So if
Yep.
I record for an hour and 6 minutes, then I know that that's enough for an hour long video, usually just barely. But then it takes me about double that to edit it. So if it takes me an hour and 6 minutes to record, it takes me about 2 hours and 12 minutes to edit it.
Yeah. And
And then
then
of
third,
course there's the story crediting and
yeah, that takes
putting in the
time.
backgrounds and the
Hmm.
thumbnails, and so it usually takes me about 4 hours to make a 1 hour video.
I
We're like
guess,
completely off topic, but I like this topic too. So
well, I mean, if you're having conversations, they go everywhere they please. I guess anywhere they please. Um, yeah, for me, that's definitely the same. I don't have it that quite down to the point, but for example, like using your sort of example, 1 hour will probably be like an hour and 10 minutes of recording. Depends on if I can actually read that day or not. And then double that to edit it. And then maybe like 20 minutes to put together like the thumbnails and the video and get it exporting. But usually the longest part of that process outside of the editing is like grabbing all the links and time stamps and stuff like that and just throwing the video metadata together. That usually takes me the longest part. But, anyways, when it comes to being consistent, I started out actually doing it, I think it was like a video a week because I wasn't quite sure if I actually wanted to do this. So
yeah,
I would
same.
just, it was like maybe like one video every week to 2 weeks until I was like, I think it was Christmas. I don't know if I shared this before. I might have, but I did a story called "What Happens When You Write to Satan Instead of Santa," and that
Okay.
Christmas Eve, I was like, man, this video is not going to be for. It's not going to be suitable for my 12 subscribers, which include like 3/4 of my friends and maybe my family who accidentally click subscribe. And so I was like, I can't upload this. It's too corny. It's not even scary. But I did, and I netted like 150 subs overnight, and it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And then after that, I was like, oh dang, maybe maybe I will actually do this. And because I didn't want to like um go too hard into it, I was working a job that depressed the crap out of me, and I hated everything about it. And so I wasn't really feeling all that motivated. But after that, I was like, okay, let's amp it up. Let's see if I can commit to, a solid one video a week. And then, all right, let's try two. And I guess the consistency was there, but I don't think I was consistent enough. Not when it comes to the length of my videos and like the time put into them. So I feel like I don't know. Maybe the effort contributes to your consistency.
Yeah,
Just
something interesting, if we want to get into algorithms and stuff that a
mhm.
lot of people don't know about. A lot of a video's initial push has to do with how well the channel is performing literally that hour, okay? So, this is where it gets really into channel specifics. My channel basically does the same no matter what. Obviously, if I upload, the next day is going to be a little bit stronger than the day after, of course. But okay, so say I'm getting, just to throw a number out there, not that this is an accurate number. Say I'm getting 500 views on the hour that I upload. Uh, that will push the video initially more than if I'm getting 300 views during that hour.
Really?
Yep. So
I never knew that.
yeah, so that's where consistency in the algorithm truly comes into play. Because say you're uploading once a week, and then by that time that week is over, your channel's getting like no views anymore, and then you upload again. It's basically like, I mean, yeah, you can still get the recommendation views, the video can still blow up, but it's not going to get that initial push because you're not getting that roll in.
So should I upload like every 2 hours then and just get that steamroll going?
I feel like at that point you would just turn people off, but if you want to go for it, you know,
No.
that's like that longevity thing, like, people
Yeah.
aren't gonna watch it right away because 'cause they're like, "Okay, this guy's just going crazy."
Right. And they
But then
like
you got
go
this
to do
catalog that
errands.
all of a sudden,
Yeah.
like, all of the recommendations are just stories after midnight. It's like, "Man, this guy's
Yeah.
just out here."
They go and
Then
get
they
like a
sub and then realize what you're
baconator.
doing, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, man." So then they dip, and then more people come in. Next thing you know, you got inflated metrics.
Man, they'd go to like get a baconator from Wendy's and then hit up Costco and come back. And by the time they're done their errands, there's like 4 new videos out. Like, all right, I can't keep up anymore.
And the
That,
Costco's converted to a 7-Eleven because everything is just moving so fast.
yo, speaking of Costco's, man, they had like lines all the way around the store when they're just letting like a handful of people in. I
That's
kid
because
you not.
everybody's gotta stay, like, is it still 6 feet, or did they change it now? I don't go out anymore, man. Like, I don't
No,
know.
it's 6 feet.
Still 6 feet?
Yeah, it's
Wasn't
six
there a
feet.
study that says that now it can travel more than 6 feet?
Man, I don't even know. Like, apparently cats got it now. So like, should we just not have cats or pet cats? Because I want to pet cats.
I have 2 cats in my house, and now they can't be trusted.
Well, don't let them cough on you or anything. They could give you that coronavirus, you know. But oh dang, how do we get here? No, I think you gotta be careful with uploading so often because one of the things that I worried about was actually oversaturating my own dang channel, where
Yeah.
people would just be like, "Oh my gosh, you know, he's got a video out," and then you go do something and come back and there's another video and you're like, "Oh okay," and then same thing. You know, maybe you're a couple days behind and there's already 4 videos out. At that point, for me, I'd be like, "Well, like there's so many videos, I'll never keep up. I'm just gonna keep an eye on this even less."
Well, yeah, because then people can kinda cherry pick. They can just choose, like, "Okay, this one looks really good, so I'm gonna watch this one," and they might not watch one that doesn't look as good because now there's options. It's really interesting. A couple years ago, I think it was a full month daily uploading. Now,
Mm,
keep in mind at this time, I wasn't uploading hour-long videos. They were, like, 15, 20 minutes, whatever. So, um, at first, they did really, really well. But after about 2 weeks, people were telling me to stop uploading so much
they're just,
because
they're
they
just.
couldn't
I
keep up.
haven't been out of bed in a week. Give me a break.
But yeah, so I started to see that my views were just, they weren't just gradually going down. It's like everybody just gave up trying to keep up at once,
Yeah, yeah.
and it just, like, completely, like, killed things off, and then I finished out the month just because I said I was going to, you know? And then after that, I went back to a every 3 day? Yeah, it was every
Hmm.
3 day. And then my channel went back to doing well again, which is
Yeah.
super interesting because you would think the consistency was there, like, it was every day. But it
It was
actually
too
stunted my
much.
growth
Yeah.
rather than getting it going. I think it's because you spread yourself so thin at that point.
Doing it every day? I think you spread
Yeah.
your viewers too thin, you know?
I think it's yeah, it's a bit of both.
I I upload I think it's like 2 to 3 times a week, and that seems to be pretty good. And I think it's important to find that sweet spot. If your videos are 6 hours long, maybe you don't upload, 2 or 3 or 4 a week. Maybe you only do 1 every, week and a half. I think you have to take into consideration the people who are actually watching because they're the ones giving you your views, and if they're getting tired, you know, then you can't really get what you're there for, and that's your views. So you have to be consistent, but taper it back. Don't be too outrageous. Same with daily uploads. If your daily uploads are maybe like 15 minutes long, I could see that being viable. But if they're like 40 minutes to an hour, I think you're kind of pushing that line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, how do I explain this? Okay, so there's an ever going. I'm gonna use the word conspiracy, and I want your opinion on it. But first, I'm
Okay,
going
hold
to
on a sec.
I'm gonna try and
Uh,
segue into it a little bit. Okay.
well, you segue while I go grab some tinfoil and make a fancy little hat.
Oh well, I mean, it's kind of a question for you.
I
So,
don't want the FBI reading my mind from their satellites.
no, I'm just kidding. So,
No,
okay,
go ahead.
so if you find a series right that just works wonders, you don't want to post it too much because you're going to saturate it and then people won't care anymore. That's why people that they find something that just clicks and then they only post that every 2 weeks to a month and it continues to do well for years upon years because you got to think like if they're only posting it once every month and they've been doing it for 2 years, well that's only 24 of them. So people are going to continue to want it more and more and more because they only get it so often.
Hmm.
Uh, so here's where their conspiracy comes into play,
Okay,
and
I'm listening.
I
Hmm.
love hearing people's opinions on questions like this. I don't think I've ever asked this particular question. Do you think it's true that when a channel gets big enough, when they hit, uh,
Oh,
that they can post
hey,
less,
repeat
and
that
the fact
because you completely cut out.
oh, where did it cut out? Okay,
Uh,
so when a channel reaches quote unquote superstardom, there's
right.
a conspiracy that they can post less because people look forward to it more. And that if they were to post more, people would look forward to it less. You see what I'm saying?
Well, we're coming back to the classic romance concept. You want what you can't have.
Yeah.
So if I want slumber and I can't get
Ooh.
slumber, you know, then I'm going to want him really bad when he does come around. But legit, yeah, I think when you get that big, when you hit like horror narration critical mass, you can almost just upload whenever because you'll reach a certain point where I think this is all hypothetical because I'm like nowhere near this critical mass quote unquote sub count, but a lot of your views will come from your subs, right? So if you
Yep.
can get a lot of that viewership, and if that viewership drives the what word am I looking for? It promotes your video. If that viewership promotes your video as much as it would,
Yep. Yep.
then just by uploading, having that high subscriber count and all those or a majority of those subscribers looking at that video, then it'll boost. So I think you really have to grind and you really have to stay consistent when you're first starting out. I
To
think
get to
it's
that point, yeah.
yes, and yeah, and I think even if you go from 5,000 to 6,000 subs, I think technically you can still even taper just a bit, but you really need to grind the I don't know, grind to like what 500,000 to a million subscribers. Like you have to grind a lot to get that viewership, to get those
Yeah,
recurring
it's kind of
views.
like a lot of people like to say bigger channels, and I'm not just talking about horror narration channels. I'm talking about just across YouTube. People say, "How are they so big? They barely ever post." Well, it's because they were either one of the first to do what they do, or they were one of the hardest working at what
Right.
they do, or
Because
they were one of
they're
the
so
best. You
big.
know, it can be a barrage of things, and of course there are always the odd anomalies that it's kind of like, okay, yeah, wait, how? You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's not that they were never hard workers, and they still are hard workers. It's just, you kinda gotta play things smart, like, it's like a game of chess when you start getting into that, bigger channel category, because it's like, how do you ever fall out of relevancy if you're only posting twice a month? Like, people are going to always look forward to that because they only get it so often.
Mhm.
So, it'd be interesting to see a channel that posts maybe twice a month. That's huge. I wonder what would happen if they started posting daily. I wonder if it would be like the opposite effect of trying to get a channel off the ground. Maybe it would hurt it instead of help it, whereas a small channel would help it instead of hurt it. The reason why I say this is because a lot of people look at the larger channels
Mm.
and try and model their channel after that. What they don't realize is, and I think we've mentioned this before, the best channels to quote unquote model your channel. I need to stop saying quote unquote. That's like my third time this episode.
Yeah, can
If
you
I say
cut
it
it
again, you
out?
need to
God,
slap
like,
me.
I'm going to have to edit the crap out of this just to
So
save face.
I feel like every single episode there's one thing I say a lot. But anyway,
Go on.
the best channels to um, take inspiration from are the ones that are, in that mid end, which again, I think we've talked about this before, where, they're doing what's big now instead of what was big or what will be big. They're doing what's big now. So your best bet is to either kind of model your channel after that or try and figure out what's next and stay one step ahead. And if you can manage to do that, you'll have far more success than doing what's in now. And you'll definitely have far more success than doing what was in 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
But when you're posting consistently, you have to be doing what's now, obviously. But when you get that big, and if you decide to slow down, then you have to keep a finger on that pulse. But I think in the same sense, when you are that big and you have an audience that is so looking forward to your videos because they like you, then it almost really doesn't matter what you do because you're going to get that growth. YouTube is going to promote you because of that initial kick from all of your subscribers. If you
Yeah.
wanted to grow and reach another genre or another group of people, then yeah, you would have to switch it up and maybe try to think of something else to do. But when it comes to like consistency in and of itself, I think once you get to that point, you could technically slow down and I think still keep that engagement. Now, you can't slow down too much because it could seem like, well, you're not uploading very much. Maybe you're stopping, maybe you're quitting. You know, is he not taking this seriously anymore? So I think you have to find that fine line and I think that's what consistency is all about. It's just finding that threshold to where, you're not oversaturating your viewers too much, but you're not boring them or giving them the wrong impressions that you're, losing touch or losing focus. So I think that can only come with like experimenting, but I know for sure that if at least you're doing what we do, being consistent and grinding in the short term will mean that you can then start tapering in the long term, but you got to put that work in first to be super consistent.
Yeah, yeah. Again, if we're just talking about horror narration and horror narration only, consistency is and consistency in the form of posting pretty much as possible is one of the most important things, because the odds of a story narration blowing up is so slim. It's so unbelievably slim. um I've posted well over 600 videos, and I've only had maybe like 4 or 5 that I can say have blown up, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I test things. I'm testing things all the time. I've pretty much tried every format I can think of anyway, and
Have you
I
done
found what
live
works for
action?
me, which might not necessarily work for somebody else, and what works for them might not work for me, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
But it's all very interesting stuff how just different channels work differently. For one channel, uploading once a week might do far better for them than uploading 3 times a week, and vice versa. But I think it depends. It's kinda like what Swamp Dweller said on the last episode. It's kind of how you curate your audience. Um, what exactly you started off doing, I think, is what people will expect from you in the future. But then you fall into those questions of what if. So say that you always were a weekly uploader and it's worked for you.
Yep.
You'll always wonder, if people like these weekly uploads so much, what if I was doing 3 videos a week? Would I be farther along? Would I be where I am now? Or would my channel have never taken off? You'll never know. Which is why testing things and experimenting is so, so important.
Yeah. Testing things and experimenting is incredibly important when it comes to figuring out what works for your channel. Because, like you said, you'll never know if you don't try these different things. And it's not like if it doesn't work out, you're going to be doomed. But I mean, we already spent like what 2 hours talking about that, so I don't think we really need to dive too much into that. But do what works for you.
Not again. Not again.
Now sit back and relax for another 2 hours of do what's best for you.
All right, guys, podcast over. We've no.
Yeah, yeah. I man, you know what really gets me inspired, and this is totally random, but it's something that I've noticed within myself recently is seeing horror narration channels with over like 5 million views. And if you
Yeah, really.
notice, their videos are shorter than the videos we're doing now, which is funny because it's kind of like, they may be consistent, but do they need to upload the same long videos that we do now to get that engagement? No, they're getting engagement no matter what they upload. But it's cool seeing those channels, um, because when I see them, I'm like, so what I'm doing right now has the potential to be where they are. And that's really cool.
I
So
think I
when
think
I
one
see
of the
that, I get kind of
most
inspired.
yeah, one of the most inspiring things for me is seeing friends do really well. It's like anytime like a friend of mine passes me in subs or they have a way better month than me, despite having a lower sub count or whatever. There's always that friendly banter of you jealous? You jealous? And it's like, no, I'm inspired because that means I could be doing something a lot better. And I'll
Dang, I
be
need to
damned if
take
I don't
that.
find it.
Man, I'm the kind of person that sees that, and like for everyone to notice and for everyone to see, I get jealous.
I mean, there's a little bit of jealousy,
No, we're not
a
talking a
little
little bit
bit,
of jealousy.
but
There's
do you get really jealous?
should I, what, what am I doing wrong, Susan Wojcicki? Tell me what I could be doing better to grow my channel at the same rate that the same person who's doing the same thing I am is doing. So yeah, I get jealous, but I get jealous with like a tinge of what are they doing that I'm not doing, and that's kind
Yeah,
of
I
cool.
don't. I think jealous is a way uglier word just because of the stigma than it really is.
Yeah,
Jealousy can be okay. It can be, but it's just that 99% of the time it's not.
it's not a
So
jealousy like I hate your guts. I hope your channel blows up, like in a bad
yeah,
way.
yeah,
It's more like, dang it, like what could I be doing? What am I not doing? Like Slumber Reads, help me. Call you up on the phone, give me some ideas.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know. That's what's inspiring for me is just seeing people do well because um I don't know. People talk about, oh, did you see this channel has gained like 300,000 subs last year? Like that's insane. And they're almost kind of upset about it. But it's like, okay, but that means that there's hundreds of thousands of people that are still into what we're doing right now, you know?
Mm,
Um so find that audience or find even more people that will also be interested, because I can tell you right now there's a lot of people out there that would be interested in what we're doing if they knew it existed. A lot of
So
people just don't know.
I don't know if you're intentionally alluding to this, but what I'm gathering from this segment right now is I should learn how to hack and steal people's channels and then just post my content there. Would you?
I mean, that's kind of what I was getting to,
I thought so. I thought so.
but
I didn't know if you wanted to say that outright, so I just wanted to be clear that that's kind of where you were going.
it can be frustrating though. It can be because um I don't know, like, I feel like I put in a lot of work, and when somebody does pass me in subs, it's like, like I'm happy for them. It's not anything against the individual. It's
Exactly.
not.
No,
It's
never.
just it's like I wish it could be both of us is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um and it's not even so much the fact that they pass me in subs, just the fact that I know I'm doing the most I can, but it's like the YouTube algorithm is telling me like you're not doing enough, but I know I couldn't be doing more.
Mhm.
You see what I'm
Hard.
saying?
Yeah, and it's hard being in that position when you think you're doing everything right and you're struggling to maybe find something else and yet you just can't seem to be gaining traction. Cuz then you're like, "Okay, well what now?" Like I feel like, I'm using the right tags. I've got attractive thumbnails, my titles and metadata are what I think is good. My content is good. What else could I possibly be doing? And then you like look to your left and there's like, you know, creepy Joe over there making videos and he just started and he's like skyrocketing. You're kind of like, wait, what? What am I doing wrong? What could I be doing better? Is my consistency? Is my voice? Is my hair? I don't
Do
know.
people just not like me? Oh god.
I know, right? Are all these
But then
accounts that are
there's
saying that I'm
always
doing well my family? Like,
there's
are they
always
alt
there's always a
accounts?
self-reflection that comes into afterwards though. Like you got to think about where you started and where you are now.
Totally. It's important
And
to keep that in perspective.
yeah, like something that I live by is somebody else's success will not deter yours. Now, of course, we have human emotions. We're all human. We're gonna feel a little bit of jealousy. We're gonna feel a little bit of this, that, and another. But again, I can't stress enough, and I don't think I have to. I don't think I have to. I just like to be as clear as possible with what I say because I have a habit of saying things the way that I don't mean them. It's never anything against the owner of the channel or anything against the channel itself even or anything like that. It's just it's like what could I be doing better? What am I missing?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's got to be something.
Yeah, and that kind of makes it really fun because you put in all this time to try to find that thing and you don't give up. You put in the proverbial blood, sweat, and tears to find this secret sauce that's going to make your channel blow up. And then once you find it and things start popping off, I can, like, even thinking about that, because I'm still searching for that, makes me excited. Because I'm like, I know it's in here somewhere. I just have to find it. And I think it's important to use these people, even like regardless of your feelings, use these people that are growing, whether it's at the same sub count or whatever you want to label it as, or wildly more popular than you. Seeing what they're doing and try to maybe incorporate different things. Is it something they're doing that I could do that will stick, and can I grow off that? Will it give me some sort of foothold? So,
Exactly.
and like you
Exactly.
said, it's never about the individual. Any of this like jealousy or whatever you might be dealing with, it's always just, at least for me, about the situation. Kind of frustration on like my own channel. What am I not doing that they're doing that I could be doing that could give me the same kind of quote unquote, yes, I'm using that word, success. And as we talked about before, like this whole success thing, success is relative. So when I'm saying it, I mean like in subscriber count, because we all want to see our channel grow. At least that's a goal for me. I want to see it growing. I want to know that there's um, a payoff for my hard work and the fruits of my labors. And knowing that there's some Krabby Patty formula in there that I can steal that will allow me to blow up. That's exciting. It's
I
also
feel like
infuriating.
I feel like you're delving into like villain status, man. Like, we started off this podcast, you're like, "Yeah, man, let's help out some people." Now you're like, "I'm gonna find out what they're
Give me
doing
your
that I'm
secrets.
not." And it was all a ploy the whole time. The
This
whole entire
podcast.
podcast is just stories after midnight trying to find the secret formula.
Give me your channel. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
No, like it's legit because whereas, yeah, don't forget that I'm also like a small channel, like really small. Like I am kicking my little feet in the baby pool, and then I'm gonna go put some sand in my mouth when I'm trying to build a sandcastle. You know, so this podcast is very much for me and what I'm learning as a new and younger channel, as it is for the next guy that comes in and is trying to look for something. Because, like, I guess picture it this way: you've got, someone who's fat. I don't know why I'm using myself again, but I am. I'm just kidding. I'm not that fat. So say you got someone who's like overweight at the gym, right? And they're making some serious gains, and they're figuring all this stuff out, and they're trying to help other people who are in the same boat or a little bit less so find that same success, while they have someone else who's been at the game a lot longer, who's further down the road, kind of giving that advice from where they're at. So that's the purpose of this. It's for me, but it's also like my journey and telling someone else about what I've learned while still being literally present. Not like, well, this is what I did about 7 years ago, and I think I can help you out. It's current.
Well, again, it's all relevant because that's how I feel too about myself. Um, I don't think I'm a huge channel. I I will always stand by this. Probably no matter where my channel is, I consider my channel to be like lower to mid-sized. If we're gonna talk about the horror narration community solely, maybe mid-sized,
Yeah.
maybe. Um, a strong maybe. Probably still a little bit further to the smaller side. Because I mean, I don't think I'm, a big shot. I don't think I know everything. But it is fun to throw out what I know, what I think, what I speculate, and if that can help anybody, that's pretty cool. And of course, just because I'm here offering what I know, think, and um, conspiracize about, is that a word? Doesn't mean that
Conspiracize. Is that a
it's
word
gonna
though?
it's gonna be a word. It's gonna be a word now. But,
Okay.
doesn't mean that I won't listen to what other people have to say.
Totally.
Uh, Again, if we're gonna, um, cut down on channel size and stuff, like, there's stuff that you've said that I've never thought about, and then it's like, you know what? He's right. He's 100% right. And, it just goes to show just because a channel is bigger or whatever doesn't mean that they necessarily know more. It just means that they might have tested more. They've maybe just been around longer. It can be a barrage of things. Again, there's always the anomalies. There
Mm-hmm.
will always be people that are where they are for like I don't want to say no reason. That just sounds terrible because I
It's
think
too late
I
now,
think
man.
um
It's already
I
implied.
think applying effort is never equated to nothing.
Yeah.
But there always are gonna be people that, just blow up because they're just them, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. That's actually really awesome to see because I think that can give hope to a lot of people. I am sounding very arrogant. I
You
don't think
just
this
have
is
to somehow figure out how to become slumber, and then it'll work
I
out
don't
for
think this
you.
is coming off the way that I mean it, but hopefully it is. I don't know.
Sorry, the Dark Sessions podcast is now the Slumber Reads show.
Oh, no. This is not what I wanted.
This isn't what I signed up for.
No, but I mean, just on some real talk,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
there's always going to be anomalies, and there's nothing wrong with that. And again, I'm not even necessarily talking about the horror community. I'm just talking about YouTube in general.
Oh, I agree. I agree. You'll have, person number one doing the same thing as person number two, but then person number one will take off and person number two will have to keep grinding it out. And that's just what it is. And you can either let that deter you, and you can either, let those emotions that you may be feeling turn into resentment and disrespect for that other person, or you can look at it as, okay, you know, I can be doing something better. What am I not doing? You know, where is my secret sauce? Where is it? And that's how I try to, look at that kind of stuff outside of like doing everything else. So,
Yeah,
consistency though will help you though in the beginning. I believe that 100%.
I think so too, but I think even consistency can be subjective. Like, uh, how do
Well,
I phrase this?
it like subjective in the
Con
sense of as it relates to like your content, like we were kind of talking about
as it
before. Or
relates to you, like, are you consistently trying? Are you consistently applying effort? It doesn't
so
need to necessarily be consistency in uploading. It can be consistency in motivation. It can be consistency in a barrage of things.
okay, so let me see. So if consistency is subjective, then it kind of sounds like as long as you yourself are giving the best effort that you can give, consistency is kind of neither here nor there.
Yeah. Well, you got to think if it's like what I was talking about earlier, and I wasn't sure how to segue it when I was talking about it, but I know how to now. So like, if you find what could be the next big thing, you can be consistent in trying to find that next big thing, and blowing up that way versus just consistently uploading.
So it sounds
See,
like
see what I'm saying?
consistency is more of a means to an end. You have that goal. Now do stuff consistently to reach
To
that
make it
goal.
happen.
Not just be
Exactly.
consistent on its own to no end, but have a purpose and a plan and a goal and be consistent toward that goal. Did I get that right?
Yep. I think your mic cut out for me.
Oh, what did you last hear?
It was just the last sentence that cut out.
Oh, well, I've got the memory of a goldfish. So, um,
Same.
basically, what I was saying is like consistency is just a means to an end. And as long as you have a goal and you're doing things regularly that will get you to that goal, then that's the point. You can't just be consistent to no end, consistent without a goal. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess you could,
and
but you,
you wanna have fun doing it too because, uh, again, it can be fun trying to find that next big thing. This is something that it just seems like so many people don't grasp is, people that are focused on sub count, people that are focused on views, people that are focused on this, that, and another. It's not necessarily toxic. It's just that they have fun trying to make those things happen. It's fun seeing something grow. It's fun seeing something that you work really hard on get somewhere. And again, as long as you don't cross that line into toxicity and hurting others to get to it, blah 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 blah, that whole entire spiel that I don't think I need to go over.
mhm.
It can be healthy and it can be fun. So that's why I say consistency and just trying to figure out what it is that you're trying to do. What is it exactly that your goal is? Um, and just having fun with it is one of the most important things.
Do you? Well, yeah, I guess this kind of would tie back into that. Being too consistent causing burnout, and I think maybe that ties back to having fun because that kind of goes back into another topic of burnout, which I don't think is necessarily an episode all on its own. But if you're not having fun, you can burn out by being too consistent. So would
Well,
you
I
risk
think I
burning
think
out?
burning out has a lot to do with this topic. I think it's a perfect fit to talk about during this one.
I think if you're too consistent and you don't, it's I guess it's almost like those triangle things, where you pick two, but you can only pick two out of the three. It's like if you want something done right, it can't be fast, but it'll cost a lot. If you want something that will cost less, it's going to be fast and not done right, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So what do you think would be, I guess, the the main ingredient to being consistent without burning out? I think for me, it would be maybe uh, enjoying what you do. There has to be, I think, a strong drive and a strong purpose. But what would you say is that key ingredient to being consistent and not burning out?
Um, I don't know. For me, it's just I guess it just has a lot to do with enjoying what I do, and it's also my job, so I, anytime that I'm not feeling like making a video, it's like, okay, well, would I rather make a video or do I want to go find a day job? And, if I ever had to go back to a day job, that's okay. I'm not scared of it. I'm not, terrified to go back to a 9 to 5. I mean, I'm human just like everybody else. I can do that. It's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's I know that sounds bad. It might sound bad. Maybe it's just me overthinking, but that's something that's always motivated me is, there's nothing else that I'd rather be doing right now, and I wanna cherish this while it's still here because it might not be here tomorrow. It might not be here the next day. So I wanna have fun and enjoy this while it's here. Now, that's not to say that I haven't had burnout. I absolutely have many times, throughout the years. There's been about maybe 5 times that I can think of right off the bat where it's like, I just wanted to quit. I just wanted to be done. I had spread myself so thin. But, when that happens, you gotta take a step back and you gotta just think about why you're doing it. Is it still worth it to you? Because if it's not, maybe just go find something else. It's okay. Like you're not a quitter for deciding that something isn't for you. But if you ever decided that it could be something for you, the odds are very high that it still is. You've just lost your motivation because you've burnt out. And as long as you can find that mindset to realize that the only reason you're burnt out is because you're doing it too much, it makes it a lot easier to just take a step back, reevaluate, and get back into it.
I feel
And,
like
try and find that, initial motivation and reflect on where you were, where you are now, and all that good, happy stuff.
yeah, you have to like reach into that metaphorical cookie jar and pull out success when you're going through that tough time of like being maybe too consistent and feeling that burnout, and remind yourself of where you came from, what you're going for, why you're doing what you're doing, keeping your perspective in check, keeping your eyes on the things that actually matter. I think that will help stave off burnout. But in my experience with not just YouTube, it doesn't matter what you're doing, there's always a chance for burnout. And I think that comes just from overworking yourself. So, like we're talking about being consistent and grinding in the short term, but don't do it to the detriment of one, your own health, and two, your own health, and three, your own health. Like don't do it if you're going to like don't be so consistent if you're going to burn out, hate what you're doing, and think about not necessarily that thinking about turning away is the wrong way to go, but if you're going to put yourself in that position where you're seriously considering those options, then you need to take a step back. You need to take a step back and realize, um, again, why you're doing this, and why you're here in the first place. And that to me, it helps me get over burnout. But also keeping that schedule, like we were saying before, a schedule that like works for you. Once you find that and you can work within that and work within what's comfortable for you, I think you can really put burnout at bay. But that's just from what
There's
I've
a
experienced.
something interesting. People always just say, "Be grateful," and there's some truth to that. But when my channel got remonetized, again, I hate mentioning it, but it's relative to the conversation, and it's going to oftentimes be. It's
Yeah,
just
man,
how it
just
is. It
go
was one
at
of
it.
the biggest learning experiences I've had on this platform was when that happened. So both the demonetization and the remonetization. So when my channel got remonetized, I had so much motivation. I can't even explain to you, dude. The same night that I got remonetized, I sat down and I recorded for 6 hours straight. Didn't stop. No water, no smoke breaks,
Jeez.
no nothing.
No
I just
water?
sat down and just recorded. I was
Dude,
so unbelievably motivated.
Your throat must have looked
And
like a topographical map of Utah after that, just with how
it
parched you
might
would have
have, but
been.
I didn't notice, dude, because I was just so happy to, try and make this happen again, you know? Um, I was so excited, and I stayed with that mindset for what was it, 7 or 8 months? And well, actually not even that long. Well, I guess I still had the motivation, but I noticed my mental health getting worse and worse and worse and worse, okay?
Hmm.
And I wasn't gonna stop. I wasn't going to. It wasn't gonna happen because I wanted this so bad because it's one thing to want to do something. It's another thing to have already done it and lost it and feel like you have to prove to yourself that you can do it again.
Hmm.
And that's where my mind was at.
Yep.
So, in October, I went to Las Vegas, and it wasn't until I was in Las Vegas that I realized a lot of my sadness and a lot of my just being down on life. I hate using the word depressed lately. It probably could be applied, but I know that that's not a word to be thrown around. And I realized that a lot of it was just because all I was thinking about for months upon months upon months was getting my channel going again. And it wasn't until I was in Vegas that that finally occurred to me that that was the issue right now. And it's crazy how something I wanted so bad for those 4 months that I was demonetized turned into something on my own free will that uh turned out to be something that would drive me into near madness. I
Hmm.
mean, I started to go, like, crazy. I was so just sad every single day. So when I came back, I tried to come into it with a new mindset. You know, it's still something that I want. It's still something that I'm passionate about, but I need to start doing it more for the passion and not to try and get back to where I was because I'm never going to get back to where I was if I keep on spreading myself so thin. And if I do get back to where I was, I'll probably lose the motivation and slide right back off anyway. So, that's why I say, like, burnout can be a real thing, and I a lot of people have this speculation that you can't burn out if you enjoy something that you do. You absolutely can,
Oh,
and,
100%.
it's okay to burn out, but, it's you gotta keep on being happy, and you gotta watch out for you need to be aware. You need to ask yourself the questions like, okay, is this still something that I want to do? Is it still making me happy? And that's not to say that sometimes it you should make a video when you don't feel like making one. I mean, I've recorded many videos where I was not in the mood at all. But, I know I'd be even in less of a mood to make a video the next time around if I didn't make one before, because then you kind of start to slide into that like, I can get away with it. I can get away with it until you can't anymore
I think
because
that's where you
consistency.
almost start to find out if you actually enjoy what you're doing. Because if you
Yep.
let yourself slide and slide and slide, and if you keep letting yourself put it off, that's almost like a a tell that maybe you're not into this as much anymore. Maybe you've lost something, whether it be perspective or passion or whatever the case may be. That's allowing yourself to get to that. Because if you're really passionate about something and you need to take a break, it's not I can do it next time, I can do it next time, I can do it next time, but it's like okay, w- I'm just going to wait until I feel like doing it. I'm going to wait until I feel better. For me, in my channel, if I don't feel like uploading on a particular day, I won't. That doesn't happen very often. Uh, the desire to do that will ebb and flow throughout the day, and I usually just work with myself. When am I feeling into it? Because I think for me, and the type of narrations that I do is not to be super spooky. It's not, monotone, trying to induce the most like scare factor, but I rely very heavily on portraying emotions and portraying feeling and themes and stuff like that. So if I'm not feeling a story, I'm going to be less into it. I'm going to be less into trying to work with it. I'm just going to be trying to get it done. And I've come across that with doing multiple stories in one sitting, which I don't really do anymore. Um, I'll do one and say it's like 40 minutes. If I don't feel like doing any more, I won't do any more. I won't push myself to keep grinding out videos because I feel like I have to get it done. I know in the end, whenever I release my video, there will be people there that will enjoy it, whether it's a day after my previous or 5 days after my last. But in the end, it comes down to literally myself. I'm doing this not for you, Mr. or Miss Subscriber. I'm doing this for me. And it just so happens that you enjoy that. And that's that common ground. Like you enjoy what I make. I enjoy what I make. But I won't put myself at such a disadvantage in order to keep my channel going, I guess. And I say that now because I feel like I can get away with it. I would be very, very surprised if my views changed if I was like very popular, because that's just kind of who I am. I work with
I
myself,
think I
right?
think views change with time, not so much with popularity.
Views as in like what I just said.
Yeah, like views as in the way that you see different things.
Hmm. Oh, for
It's
sure.
ever
Yeah.
changing. You're just always evolving as a person.
Yeah. Like I'm saying this now, but there could come a time where I say, hey, screw you, me. And I drive myself into a ditch because I want to keep pumping stuff out. That's never been who I am. But like I said, or like you said, sorry,
It's
the,
definitely who I am. It
yeah,
very much is who I.
yeah.
But again, I do want to say this really quick,
Mm,
just for future viewers and anybody listening right now. It goes
subscribe to
back to the
midnight.
ebbs and flows. Like right now, I'm very motivated with what I do, and I love what I do. It's just I have a habit as a person where anytime I set my mind to something, I overdo it. And that's not an issue with what I'm doing. That's an issue with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I understand that for sure.
And like I think I've finally I say this now. I say this now. Who knows? Maybe in 6 months I'll hit another burnout. But I feel like as of right now I've found what works for me. And that is posting as much as possible, but not stressing if I can't. And
That's
I
that's
think
that's right on the nose, dude.
yeah.
Right on the nose. Like if you are working within your literal the parameters of your literal self, if you're working within your bounds, that's all you can ask for. If your bounds are uploading once a week because you've got kids, you've got two jobs and you need to focus on other things, then by all means, like do you. Don't try and, sacrifice your well-being for some frivolous YouTube channel that could very well just be, you know, copyright striked into the ground and then you've lost all that. And this kind of comes from like I'm going to kind of tell you a story and it relates to burnout. There might be something there. It's totally not to do with
I'm not
YouTube.
a fan of stories. I would never read a story or listen to one, so no, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Imagine. All right, what's up?
yeah, I've been doing this for 6 years and you know what? The lid's coming off. I hate what I do. Y'all are trash. I'm deleting my channel right now. Go screw yourself. Peace, nerds. And you just like leave the call.
No, I wanna hear your story though. I'm
Okay.
intrigued.
So
I am interested.
I'm interested.
I'm
Uh
interested.
okay, so I'm a web developer. I think a lot of you know that. Uh, I don't know why I think a lot of you know that. Maybe I just post about stuff a lot, but I'm a web developer. I've been doing it for the last probably 7 years, and teaching myself how to do the ins and outs, servers and clients, blah 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 blah. And I was actually doing this program at a high school because I didn't take the necessary credits in high school to be able to do what I thought I wanted to do. What I thought I wanted to do was be a hardware engineer. So making like computer components, like making the physical hardware and whatnot for computers and stuff. And I was doing this high school program where you can get uh, the credits that you didn't get, like on your own time. at home, your own pace, and whatnot. So during that time, I fell in love through happenstance with programming. I don't know what it was, if it was necessarily being able to use my mind in complex ways and coming up with ideas for things, writing code to make a computer do what you want and seeing it come to life. I mean, I could go on and for a day and talk about that, but I kept doing this. I still do it, obviously, over and over and over again. And my end goal was to get a job, because these jobs pay incredibly well out of the gate, $70,000 to $80,000 for a junior position, depending on like the city that you're going to be working in. If you get up to a senior level and further, you can, 200,000, 300,000 at the very top, probably even more. Like Facebook, Google, 500,000. The range for salary is unreal, and I didn't figure that out till a little bit later. But I kept trying to get a job, and I kept trying to get a job. I kept trying to do what I thought was right. I'm making, portfolio websites for myself, things that really didn't matter, to showcase my skill. I was applying. I was trying to learn this, that, and the other thing in order to make myself a good interview candidate. And I did that for so long. I ended up developing. I wouldn't say it's a severe anxiety, because I think it could go so much deeper, so much worse, but a pretty good anxiety, to the point where I would apply for a job. They'd say, heck yeah, uh, let's do this. When can you do an interview? And I would not reply, because I would just get so cooped up from all the rejection, from all of the no's in the past. Man, I was like this close to going and moving to Paris, France for a job over there. I went through 2.5 months of interviews where my body would wake up at 3 in the morning, because it was like the start of their workday over there, just waiting
Mhm.
for waiting for an email on how I did. I got so far through like 2 rounds of interviews and a coding interview, talking to the CEO, and it came to salary negotiations. I put out my number there. There was like no negotiation on their end, which really irritated me. And I feel like that's maybe why I lost it. Just that disconnect between like the market over there for this job and the market here and whatnot. So all that way, they didn't take me. Now, this has been like a dream of mine. I've been gunning for this, and it never happened. And it never happened more times than I can count. And then I go on Twitter and I see, tweets where it's like, um, I just started learning web development 6 months ago, and I just signed my first contract for $60,000 a year. I couldn't be more happier. And I'm like, what the heck? So my end goal was to get a job. And the most peace that I have ever felt when it comes to web development is when I decided my goal was no longer to get a job, but to just build things that I enjoy. Once I made that decision that I was going to no longer focus entirely on job searching, focus entirely on getting a job or getting this or that, and focused entirely on doing what I was interested, whether or not it would lead anywhere, was when I felt literally the most free. And I haven't felt burnout since, and it's been probably a year, maybe a year and a half. And I program like almost every day, sometimes for hours. And this, I don't even know if it necessarily ties in, or how I would tie it into to YouTube and how it could help someone else. But
I think it ties into everything. Like, dude, that was like that was actually a really great story, because it made me remember a bunch of things that I've tried in my life. And I one thing I've realized with anything I've ever been interested in is you start having a lot more fun with it once you stop trying to be the best, and you get better at it when you stop
oh,
trying to be the
dude,
best.
100%.
Which
Like,
is which is the craziest thing, because you would think like, "Oh, you're always pushing yourself, you're always pushing yourself." I'll make this really quick,
yep,
because I really wanna hear more about your story, but
yeah, for
it's
sure.
like, I, um I used to be really into BMX. I still am to an extent. I still hop on my bike and ride when I can. Uh, but, I growing up, I wanted to be pro. That's all I wanted. I wanted to be a pro BMX rider, and I had a couple years where, like, I just wasn't getting better. Like I was just stuck with the same the same tricks, never progressing. And I was always trying to keep up with my friends, and if they learned a trick, I had to learn it. I had to learn it right now. And again, it can be healthy, but the way that I was applying it was not.
Mm-hmm.
In my very specific scenario, I was being toxic about it. Not to the point where like I was losing friendships or making it clear that it was a competition or anything. But once I started to just ride at my own pace, throw on the headphones, go to the skate park, and just ride. That's when I started learning new stuff again because I wasn't taking it so serious. Because it's so much about the mindset. If it's like, oh, I want a 360 this box, right? I you're gonna be so stiff up in the air because you're trying so hard to just land it. You want to stick it. But if you just free mind it, all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I got it. Like that's so sick. And then you do it again and again and again, and it's like, all right, now what's next?
Yeah.
And it's all about your mindset, man.
Well, that's what I drove
But
myself into. Like I got myself to like the I don't know, casually depressed, I guess, like just feeling upset and tight and tense and hating it. I just started to lose my passion for web development, and which was weird because I had been doing it for like 4 or 5 years at this point, and I had been job searching for 3 years. So it got to the point where I developed this anxiety and turned away interviews, even though interviews in itself were a pathway to my goal. And when I just decided I'm going to make it on my own, I'm going to make things that I want to make because I want to make them, not to try and make some recruiter out there happy or try to do all the right things that will try and please them and not really have the fun with it that I used to. When I decided to just screw that was when I started having the most fun. And out of that came, like, I'm going to toot my own project, I guess, but out of that came Redix, which has become the most helpful thing to me um, in my YouTube career. Because, like, finding stories used to take so much time, and that's a whole nother story. But when I decided to make this little tool, and this little tool came out of my general passion for web development and to make things quick, to optimize certain aspects. So I saw this problem with the with YouTube's, or with, not with YouTube, but like with what do we say, with the upload pipeline. Like, you go find a story and then you go send a request for that story, and then you have to do this and you have to do the other thing for one story, and then now you got to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, maybe find something that sticks out and is interesting and repeat the process, right? So that can take a long time. And so I saw a problem there and decided to create a solution. And now this solution is been like a year and 2 months in the making. I got my first Patreon or patron for $20 a month last, like, a few weeks ago, and it's increasing in popularity. And I've had like these desires to create um other projects. Like, could I make something for writers that would maybe allow them to sell their fictional stories, or maybe like a Twitch subscription type where they can post their long stories behind a paywall, and those who are subscribed to them can get to read these stories. And like, all these different ideas started coming when I decided that I was just going to do this for myself, go back to why I enjoy doing it, and forget trying to go to some particular end goal, and just do it because I love it, and not try to worry about those things that I can't necessarily control. And I wouldn't be surprised if some company, maybe it could be in a year, it could be in 3 years, turns around, somehow sees my website and goes, "Hey, I'd like to offer you a job." Out of such frustration and turmoil could come this thing. But I don't think that if I didn't make this decision to make it on my own, to do my own thing, to forget trying to achieve this one lofty goal, and just do it because I love it, I don't think I'd be programming today. It just got to that point where I hated it. And I think when I started to work within the bounds of who I am as a person, within my own interests and my own limitations. Not to say that you should just completely uh, keep yourself within your own bounds and limitations. You should always be trying to, break that and see what's out there. But in this situation, when I just decided to say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to do what I want to do because I love it, and I'm not going to strive for something like this. It's just when it blew the lid off my passion for web development. And so now I know when it comes to YouTube, I got to keep my goals in check. If I stare at my subscriber count, which I did, because that's what I do when it comes to stuff like this, is give me things I can measure, and then I will stare at them and try to make them grow. And when they don't grow, I'll get sad. And so when I decided to delete the YouTube Studio app, it furthered, like it took that cap off. Okay, like now I can't actually daily, almost minutely keep track on this stuff, and I can just forget about it and do what I love to do, and it made it easier to keep in mind the reasons why I was doing it. And figuring that crap out, figuring out what works for you is like the biggest way in my mind to stave off burnout. And I
See, that's
think
that's
that's the
some
end of my story.
that's some really motivating stuff, and again, it can be applied to so many things. I think a lot of it is just thinking outside of the box, man. Uh, we live in a time, and I've talked about this so many times. I don't think I've ever mentioned it on the podcast though. We live in a time where you can make a living doing pretty much anything. Now, a lot of people, they might want to have a job voice acting in an anime or something, and that's awesome. That's great. Go for it. Try and make it happen. But it's not the only option. Um, like a lot of you might think you have to go through some big company or something, but that's not always necessarily the case. If you find somebody who's doing like an underground project and you get in on that, that can open up doorways into other things, and you might wind up doing exactly what you wanted to do. You just found a different way of making it happen, and that's why I say nothing is linear. There's never anything that's just this is how it's done, this is how it's always done, this is the golden rule, this is how it has to be done. No. There's so many ways to get to that same end goal if you think outside of the box. You were talking about working for a big company. Well, what if you became the big company?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the bigger picture, and it's totally possible because somebody has to do it, you know?
Well, that's where
And it very well could be you.
I viewed, like what you just said, I viewed my web development track very linearly. I was like, I become a web developer, I get hired at a company. That's just what you do. I didn't really give much thought to, well, what if I didn't do that? What if I just made something, solved some problem, and somehow monetized it? Maybe I could, become self sufficient. Maybe I could do what I love every day, not have my own boss or be my own boss, be able to work within the parameters that I want to work in. And it's it's crazy when you can actually figure out these things. It's like trying to find that secret sauce with your YouTube channel, YouTube channel. When you ended up thinking of outside the box and you find what works. And I like with this, with web development, like I found what works and literally couldn't be happier because I was able to break free of that linear perspective that I thought you had to abide by because that's just what everyone else did. Not very many people were not, well, one, not actually getting a job, and then two, being successful doing their own thing. You don't really see that often. It's usually like go to a company or go to X, and then from X after a few years, you maybe go do Y, or you maybe go do Z, that kind of thing. But you don't really see very many people just going and pursuing what they want and achieving it without, following a similar
It's
path.
it's all about that entrepreneurship. Okay, so I kind of got a little bit of my own story. If you're cool with hearing it,
Yeah, man.
it's not as good as yours. It's not, but um, so When I was a little kid, I was mute for about a year. I didn't talk. I don't know why. I actually don't know why. I don't even remember it. That's just what everybody tells me. And so when I finally started talking more, or talking just in general, I guess, I had a really bad speech impediment. It was awful. Nobody could understand anything I was saying at all. Um, and I had to take speech classes, all that good stuff, which definitely helped. But I remember watching Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and all this stuff, and I always thought it was so cool that there were people that had a job talking into a microphone uh, for these cartoons and animes and all this different stuff that I was really into and still am into to some extent. Um, you know, and I really wanted that to happen. I actually still have my 5th grade essay where we had to talk about our dream job, and mine was a, voiceover artist. That's what it was.
That's awesome.
And it's something I never pursued. As a matter of fact, it's still something I've never pursued, which is interesting. So, basically, I've talked about this before. I got into YouTube because I had to hold a roster spot on the Call of Duty team I was in by making a YouTube channel, whatever. And I was really scared to put my voice on the internet. Terrified, matter of fact. Did not want to do it. So I told some goofy life stories and people really liked it. I I don't know, they just did. And I told some scary personal stories and people really liked it. So then I started writing fictional stories and people really liked it. I never thought about this. It actually didn't hit me until about a month ago. I am, by all technicality, uh, a voiceover artist. That is my career. And it never hit me until recently. I did exactly what I wanted to do. I just didn't do it the way that it is conventionally done. And for that reason, it'll probably never be respected the same way. But again, by all technicality, I am doing exactly that. And um, I don't want it to come off like a flex or anything, but I have gotten off for up and coming dubs and stuff like that. I have gotten legitimate paid offers to be on these things. And I've turned them down because I want to focus on my YouTube channel and my YouTube channel only for the time being. So, I mean, it's like I did what I always wanted to do. I'm a high school dropout. Like I never thought I was going to be able to do anything with my life. I didn't do it the way that it is conventionally done. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. That like that makes me feel happy because you kind of found out your path like I did in terms of like web development and stuff like that. And yeah, you're very right. You are a professional voiceover artist, not just some casual voiceover artist, but professional. You get paid to do this. And if getting paid to do something, you know, doesn't mean you're professional, then I don't really know what is.
You
But
know, one of the most inspirational things I've ever been told, and this is gonna sound so funny, but you'll kind of have to think about it in a little kid, okay?
okay.
So when I was a little kid, I had a job delivering newspapers. Every Saturday, I had to deliver newspapers to 30 houses. Oh man, so hard to do, right? And I would get paid like $30 at the end of the month or whatever. And I never really thought much of it. You know, it paid for like different toys that I wanted, saved up some for an Xbox 360 at one point, just stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
My uncle told me, he was like, "So, you're a professional newspaper boy, huh?" And I don't know why, but that made me feel so good. And I was like, "Well, I don't know if I'd call it professional." He's like, "Well, you get paid to do it. It's your job. You're a professional newspaper boy." He's like, "Now, you can be a professional doing anything."
Well, we sell ourselves short so often. You know, we try to set this hypothetical bar so high that we're trying to achieve, and we'll
Exactly.
never actually achieve it. But little do we know we've actually achieved it. You know, I never thought that I'd be some professional web developer, you know,
Well,
until
yeah,
I
you
got that
program stuff that people use and stuff that is helpful. Like you still absolutely did what you set out to do.
exactly. And, you know, I never would have thought that I'd be some professional voiceover artist. And while I don't think that I'm, as good as the seasoned professionals, that's for obvious reasons because I'm not seasoned like they are. But nevertheless, I am a professional. And as a professional, you can charge people these professional rates. And what's funny is actually, I I think it was like 7 or 8 months, and I alluded to this before. I think I talked briefly. I used my YouTube channel to voice act as a quarterback in a football game, like a literal game you can buy on the PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. And that was the coolest thing because I had always wanted to give that a shot to try being a voiceover in some video game. Like Michael Ironside as Sam Fisher in the Splinter Cell series. I love that guy's voice and that character. I really hope they bring him back. Um, I always thought, it would be really cool to be able to voice act in a video game like that. And
Oh, definitely.
little did I know, by not necessarily pursuing that outright, but just generally following an interest I had, that in a literal way would become a reality. That I would be able to use my channel, which original purpose wasn't to that end, but that I could use it to actually achieve some goal that I had forgotten about long ago. And it's just comes back to, why are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing YouTube to try and make it big? Are you doing YouTube to try and, make a lot of money? Or are you doing it because you enjoy creating content and you um doing voiceovers and enjoy doing narrations? You'd be surprised at what can come out of that. Because if you think about it, dude, if you like sat back and think about being a voiceover narrator or voiceover artist on YouTube, all of the things that could come out of that, you could very well, get movie roles, the animated movies,
You
right?
definitely,
We
definitely can.
we already know that you can get video games, and we already know that you can do audiobooks. There's so much potential that can come out of doing this, but there's also, I think, a lot more hidden, untapped potential that can come out of your general interests. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
I
Like
mean, okay, so
if you're a
just
writer,
just just in terms of YouTube, you
yeah,
never know who's watching. Um,
exactly.
there very well could be one of your subscribers, even if you've only got 10 subs, doesn't matter. One of those 10 subs could be somebody who owns a giant company in voiceover. Because who would want to watch voiceover videos? Maybe somebody who's into voiceover, maybe somebody who has created something giant.
Mm.
You might already be underneath their scope. And that's man, people always say YouTube can't turn into this, can't turn into that. Yes, it can. It
Yo,
absolutely can.
it's untapped, dude. It can be anything. Like I'm hoping that when I reach 50,000 subs or 100,000 subs, I'll transform into an exact replica in features and voice as David Attenborough and start doing like the Planet Earth series in his steps.
That would be dope.
That's my goal. I don't know about you, but I plan on becoming a reincarnate David Attenborough, even though he's not dead
Honestly,
yet.
I just go day by day. Like I said, I've gotten some offers, and I don't know, man. It's crazy because I never thought that. I don't know, dude. I never thought anybody would ever want to hear my voice anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And you
like
realize, hey,
even
there's some
one
weirdos
person.
out there that do, right?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
and it's like I don't know, man. There's people out there that are famous for having obscure voices too. Like,
Well,
uh,
who's
you'd be surprised, man. A lot of voiceover artists are people that have the wonkiest, strangest voices.
well, dude,
But
T
that
Rex
is
from
that is
Toy
what
Story or Rex from Toy Story. What's his name? He's got like the really high pitched voice. You know what I'm talking about?
I kind of.
You're familiar with Toy Story, right? Oh my gosh. Oh my
Little
gosh.
bit. I mean, I watched it as a kid.
No, okay. Well, the guy who does Rex, if you listen to that on YouTube or whatever, you'll see he's very popular. I forget his name at the moment, but Yeah, I could. Yeah, you'd be surprised at what will pique people's interests, and that's why you
Oh,
shouldn't
definitely.
limit yourself on what you think is some sort of shortcoming, right?
Sometimes those shortcomings can be exactly what uh, sets you apart.
Oh, exactly. That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you you. And we alluded to that and talked about that on a previous podcast. Just doing, what interests you and not really worrying about what other people think. You yourself are your own unique piece of content. Whether you think your voice is too weird, man, people are going to dig that. Sure, you might catch some flack from people, but anyone, anywhere, doing anything will catch flack from someone. So there's literally no
Definitely.
reason not to, do what you think you might enjoy.
I
Man,
couldn't say it better myself. Like I'm trying to think of something to add on, but I mean that's basically case closed. There's not much to add on to that.
I think that's case closed in the podcast, dude. I got nothing to add. I'm tapped out. I think we hit everything pretty square on the head.
Yeah,
I,
just to be like super transparent, I wasn't sure if we would be able to stretch this out to an hour, but we've been here for an hour and 30 minutes. And I think this was actually a really strong conversation the whole way through. There was a lot to talk about.
just conversations, man. Yeah, that's what happens, right? You don't stick to necessarily a script. You don't necessarily have to do everything by the book. You could go and look at how to make a podcast, and they'll tell you timeline it out, and you've got certain topics that you hit at these times, and you do this, that, and the other thing right by the book. Or, man, you can have
Oh,
literally,
oh, that reminds me though. We
yeah,
do got we do got to say this, okay? Anything we've said tonight
yep.
is just our opinions. It is not gospel. It is not something you have to follow. As a matter of fact, we want you guys to follow your own things, follow your own dreams. And if anything we've said helps at all, then that's pretty cool.
We are merely a guiding light. That's it. I like that disclaimer, though. I think that's going to catch on, and as it should. That'll be our sign off.
Yeah,
Don't
I that's
listen to
kind of that's
us.
kind of like kind of like the one thing I worry about is that people will be like, "Oh yeah, they think they know everything." It's like, no, no, we
Mm,
don't. We don't
not
know
at all.
everything, and that's why we're doing this because we don't. You might not. You might, but we know we don't.
Right.
But
And
it's fun to talk about these things and get each other's opinions because I've learned a lot. I'm sure Stories After Midnight feels the same. And again, if any of you guys have learned anything or can take it in your own way and apply it in your own way, then that's pretty cool.
that's pretty cool. Yeah. And if we helped you, then uh, we've achieved what we've set out to do. So, I mean, with that, I guess we'll just end it. And I just want to thank you guys for listening. You know, having you here to listen to us ramble on for an hour and a half means a lot. You listening to the podcast, I want to thank you for listening for sure. I hope you enjoyed what you've listened to, and I hope that we've helped you, whether it be changing your perspective, kind of seeing what really matters, sharing our stories. I hope that something has helped you out. And if you are watching on YouTube and you want the cut version, because maybe you want to listen to this again, there is the cut version on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify if you search Dark Sessions. We'd also love it if you haven't already to subscribe. I mean that would mean a lot to us that we'd have you around, and you can also follow us on Twitter too. We don't really post that much because, well, I guess I don't post that much. But if you want
I
some,
post too much.
man, yo, you're not even on our Twitter, bro. But no, if you want to kind of stay in the loop of when we're going live and whatnot, because YouTube is kind of hit or miss with their notifications and whatnot. You can follow us on Twitter because we will or Dark Sessions on Twitter because we'll tweet it out when we do go live. But thank you again for watching. We'll see you next Friday at 9 p.m. For what topic? Only God knows because I have no idea right now. But
We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out. And this has been a great episode. So thank you all for watching. I feel thoroughly fulfilled right now. I don't know about you, but I feel fulfilled.
I
Um,
tried really hard to not say like and so much. And
Good
then I
stuff.
picked up quote unquote, and then I nipped the butt on that one. So
It's all learning processes, man. It's all
yeah, no,
growth.
it's man, I have such an issue with saying like and it like God God darn it.
Well, before this rambles on too much further, thank you all again. I'm going to cut it here. I hope you have a great day and have a great weekend and stay safe. So we'll see you next Friday, 9 p.m., live streaming on YouTube. We'll see you then.
Good night, everyone.
All right. And now we're at the actual kind of streaming portion where we will actually pay attention to chat because you literally get ignored the entire way. But I do read. I don't know, like Slumber. Do you keep chat
Yeah,
open?
I
Yeah,
read.
yeah. So we
So I
do
mean,
read.
even if
Mm,
we're not reading your comments, I mean, we are technically reading them, just not out loud.
yeah, yeah. And his name was Wallace Shawn. I remember that. Not remember that. I mean, it was brought up. That is the right name. That you know what, Wallace Shawn.
So
Um.
what do we got here? We got Swamp Dweller was in here earlier. He said I farted.
Okay. Good. Good. Thank you,
Very,
Swampy.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, Dead Leaf Clover was in here saying hey.
Yeah. What up, Deadleaf
Silver
Clover?
Studio was in here the whole entire time. PA said hello. The
I see you,
legend Miss
Silver.
Mad Hat is here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Preach.
She said it's such a long answer to the thing Slumber asked. The whole stardom equals can they slow down uploads thing, referencing because they don't usually check chat till later. I
Spoken
do
like
think
a
that
true
consistency matters
veteran.
a lot when you first start out. I agree. But when you get larger, yes, you could slow down, but from my knowledge, most of them are scared to. They don't want to lose the audience or disappoint them. The pressure is larger as well. In general, too, the more you post as a larger creator, the more money you make.
That's also true. And it kind of is like, why are you doing it? Are you doing it to make money? Because if you are, you'll post regularly to your own detriment.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just
I
just continually
I don't
reading.
know. I still think that's a really interesting topic because you see a little bit of it both, right?
Yeah.
But I really do think it's a lot about what Swamp Dweller said, just how you curate your audience. Have you always been an active channel? Have you always kind of been uh post quote unquote, I'm going to use it again, bangers here and there,
Yep.
and that's what you're known for? I think it just has a lot to play on that.
For sure. I'm just not the kind of guy that will do anything if it means that, you know, I'm going to put myself last. I've done
I
that
feel that.
so many times, right? Um, like I mentioned for like an hour and with programming and stuff, I've learned enough from doing all of that that it doesn't matter what you do. You shouldn't make yourself feel as absolute trash as you can make yourself feel if you keep just burning yourself out. Nothing's worth it. And you know what? You can see that literally everywhere. You know, CEOs that work every day that make hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions of dollars, they can burn out because, the money just eventually doesn't mean much anymore. And
Money does
yourself,
not equate happiness.
exactly how you feel and if you're staying, true to yourself, as cliche as that is, if you're not staying true to yourself, man, you're gonna burn out, and it doesn't matter what you have or what you're striving for, that will ever make that okay, in my opinion. Let's
Work
continue going
yourself to
down
the
here.
bone. That's what I'm gathering.
Yes, and hack channels. And we had Michelin. Thank you for stopping by. It's nice to see you here. Um, Most of the time, when someone's channel explodes, it's normally short lived, not really by any fault of the owner, but you see a huge spike in viewers. You feel the need to one up yourself. That's true. That's
Yeah,
true. You,
yeah.
you're always striving for some metaphorical goal. Something
Well, that's
that.
why that's what I was saying. Like for those 7, 8, 9 months, whatever it was, that was all I was trying to do was get back to where I was, and I realized just it's so unrealistic. Like, I mean, it's not unrealistic. It's just it's not healthy. Um, it's just not.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's continue scrolling down here, making sure we're hitting all this kind of stuff. Should we put something in like our intro that says we'll look at chat at the end so people aren't no? I guess like people still join after that, so I
Um,
guess it doesn't really make a difference.
there might be a nice way to just put it on screen for the duration, so
Yeah,
that way
you
if
know what?
anybody hops in midway.
I'll have to do that. Yeah, just a little thing.
I don't know why I use the word healthy. That's a weird word to use in that context.
A
Oh
healthy thing to
well,
do.
no
Hmm.
going back now.
Hmm. Yeah, no going back. Let's see. Comparing yourself to others. Comparing yourself to others emotionally can be damaging psychologically, and getting upset over it. Best to make it a learning experience for sure. For sure. The pressure is internal. Same thing when you write. Is the next thing you produce going to be the last thing I produced? And it's kind of like, is the next thing you produce going to be as good as the last thing you produced? And if it's not, then what?
Oh yeah, because if it doesn't get the same reception, you feel like, oh man, have I finally peaked and am I only getting worse now? Um,
Which can like lead
it's
into
strange.
another spiraling, downward spiral of emotions.
Well,
Uh,
it's like with views, right? Like literal channel. Um, say you average 500 views a video, just a metaphorical number,
yep.
and you get something that gets 3,000 views, and now you're averaging 700 views a video. You're now thinking, why aren't these getting 3,000 instead of thinking about, well, now I'm getting 700 average. That's 200 more than I used to get average. Like that doesn't cross your mind. It's why aren't these ones blowing up too? And then say you get another one that gets, or say you even get a streak. Say you get a streak of 3 videos, they all hit 10,000 views, right?
Yep.
Now you're averaging 2,000 views a video. Uh, yeah, just again, just being metaphorical.
Yeah.
Now you're thinking, well, why is it 2,000 and not 10,000? I had that good streak. You're not thinking
Yeah.
about, well, you're consistently doing better. It's just, yeah, you're going to have those ones that spike. You're going to have some that fall. You're going to have your average as well.
I,
It's going to be all over the board.
I just don't think like anyone should really be focusing on it, you know?
Well, yeah, no,
Just,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
just
that's
don't
that's
even
kind of
focus.
that's
Yeah.
kind of the bigger picture, but
Yeah.
just to get into the mindset of usually, maybe just how I used to look at it. Maybe that's not a normal thing to do. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
And there's another one here. Enjoy what you're doing. Folks will gravitate towards you for doing what you love. And that's very true. If you're not having fun doing what you're doing, and it'll come across as that, and people will pick up on that. In in our case, and how you write. Like I notice when I've been recording too long and I'm no longer into the story, I'll notice that. And I think others might not notice it as much, but at least to me it's noticeable when you're not enjoying what you're doing. But I think that eventually comes full circle, and I think people will eventually come to that conclusion. Eventually they'll see it.
or it'll be a subtly noticed thing.
Hmm.
Like they'll think like, oh, this one wasn't as good, but they won't know exactly why.
Exactly. It'll be like a subtle thing, subconscious.
Subconscious is a strong mind.
Yeah. I think that's basically everything. I got to say thank you to you guys. You've kept me so entertained while I dig out a double slime chunk in Minecraft. A double slime chunk. I haven't played Minecraft in so long. But anyway, dude, I've got to go and switch the laundry. So I think I'm going to peace out. And
Yeah, I got a few things to do tonight, but I think for me, I'm probably just gonna chill tonight.
man, you know what? You do that because you are more important than your YouTube channel.
It's mostly just because I already have a video going up, so it's
Ah,
like it's
well.
like my mind's way of saying I got the night off,
Yeah, man. Deserve it.
but I'll still do stuff. So not technically.
What as long as I think okay, that's a good point. Like as long as you're doing stuff knowing that you don't have to,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Like you could
definitely.
quit anytime and you'll be golden. So
It's all about mindset, man.
it's
It's
all
all
about
about
mindset.
mindset.
Anyways, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for engaging and the wonderful comments you had to say. Definitely enjoy reading them. We like we said, we do read them throughout, so it's really cool to get that feedback. Also, I would like to share something, Slumber.
Oh
Let
yeah.
me see. So there's a certain um I don't know if because it was in a DM on Twitter I got. like 40 minutes ago. But our podcast is actually impacting people more than just outside of our chat and people that haven't actually necessarily engaged in our chat. So I got a DM from a pretty new narrator, but a well-established writer, thanking us.
Yeah, I got it too.
For good.
I see it.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was sent to you as well, so I'm glad that he did that. Thanking us for what we're doing with Dark Sessions. So, you know, we've been doing this for a month and a week, and I think we're starting to see some pretty good returns. And returns in the sense of reaching people and helping people out. That's what I mean by that.
That's
I'm
what
going
it's
to go
all
to
about,
bed
my man.
because it's 3:45 a.m. I need some sleep. All right, Silver Studio. Yeah, I don't know why you're up. You crazy. Just,
4
Minecraft
a.m.
and
Nah, it's still early. That's still
4
early.
a.m.
Dude, I thought it
sessions.
was so funny. Crazy off topic, but you tweeted out this morning saying like, catch dark sessions tonight at I don't think you actually said the time, and I was like, in other words, as soon as I wake up from sleeping during the day.
Yeah.
which
the
is exactly what happened, dude. I set an alarm, took a shower, ate something really quick, sat down on my computer, and it was time to go.
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at the prime time of 8 p.m.
My sleep schedule is so bad, dude.
uh,
It's always been bad. It's always been awful, but it's like especially with this lockdown stuff, it's like I don't even see the point in turning it around.
no, man. You just got to quarantine yourself in the best way you know how.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, as long as it's not affecting me too much, oh well.
Exactly. Do what's best for you. Anyways,
Do what's best for
do
you.
what's best for you. I'm going to go switch my laundry and stuff. So I'm going to hang
All
up
right, bro.
now. Thank you all for
Oh wait.
watching.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if the stream was still going. It's still going.
It is
Okay.
still going officially. Yeah. So
Okay.
thank you all for watching. We'll see you next Friday at 9 p.m. That's all I got to say. You know what? Goodbye.